So out of all the metaverse players out there, I believe that there's one company that is poised to become somewhat of a backbone to many of the other players out there who will actually be competing with each other, but rather actually be building their platforms on top of this one company's products.
Right.
And this company in question is none other than Nvidia, who has traditionally been known for developing graphics cards and is actually the industry leader in that respect, as well as more recently in data centers as well. And so even without relying on the metaverse technologies that they're about to get into in a huge way, they're still a rapidly growing company and a safe investment, even for just the original industries and products that they're involved in. And now, even though I did just say that Nvidia is a safe investment, taking a quick step back, this is still just my opinion and also something that fits my own investment criteria, and as such, this video should not be taken as financial advice. But I do also want to say that Nvidia, I do have a lot of conviction in, and it's also the second largest holding in my stock portfolio right now.
Nice.
And with that, let's get right into why I think Nvidia is one of the safest and also highest potential metaverse players out there in terms of stock market investing. So first of all, before we actually get into some of the more metaverse related stuff, I want to first point out that Nvidia has actually already been growing extremely quickly and is extremely profitable in the industries that it has traditionally been involved in and is actually dominating. Starting with gaming, where it had in its most recent earnings report a record revenue of $3.22 billion, which is up a whopping 42% from a year earlier. And then its data center revenue, one of its newer ventures, but it's also a large part of its overall earnings and revenue, is also up 55% from a year before and clocking in at $2.94 billion for that quarter. And now it's very worth noting, and also why I think Nvidia is a safe metaverse investment, that these two sectors, again gaming and data centers, actually make up the bulk of its revenue, which totals at $7.1 billion, right? So if you add $3.22 billion and $2.94 billion, you have over $6 billion in revenue out of that $7.1 billion for the quarter, right? And the reason this is notable is that even though Nvidia is trading at a somewhat higher premium compared to the S&P 500 in terms of price to earnings, and that people are factoring its growth so that the stock price is actually high compared to the earnings in terms of how much the earnings actually justifies, right? But a lot of these projections and its current PE ratio and forward PEs are actually mostly based on, again, its two businesses, gaming and data centers, right? And thus it doesn't really factor in many of the sort of unknown metaverse related, omniverse related technologies and potential that it has. And I believe there's a huge total addressable market and potential with some of the projects that Nvidia is getting involved with, and I'll talk about those shortly. Another thing I want to point out before I get to that though is that Nvidia also has incredible gross margins in that they're able to earn a lot for the costs that they're putting into their products, right? I believe it's around 67% gross margins that they have right now, which is simply incredible. And on top of that, they also have a large cash balance, and both of these things means that they're able to not only generate significant cash flow through its already again dominant and also fast-growing businesses. Again, especially in graphics technology, there really is no competitor to Nvidia. The next competitor you can argue could be AMD, but Nvidia is really leaps and bounds ahead in terms of the graphics processing technology, which is why also it makes it so promising for the metaverse. And also because they have that huge cash balance on top of the cash flow, it allows them to have a lot more leeway, flexibility, even room for error when it comes to developing and getting into different types of products and expanding their foothold on the metaverse. Now, there are a couple of other things Nvidia has going for it other than the aforementioned ones, as well as the metaverse, which I'll get into very, very, very shortly. But those are worth mentioning, that Nvidia does things like developing autopilot self-driving systems, as well as it's going to acquire, or it was going to acquire, a company called ARM, which is another semiconductor business, which, if the deal goes through, would allow Nvidia to be able to potentially expand into other types of semiconductor businesses like CPUs, because again, Nvidia is mostly focused on GPUs, which are graphics processing units, right? But the deal might not actually go through, which is actually okay. The CEO said because of the vast, things that they already have going for them, the growth that they're already seeing without the acquisition, and the fact that they will succeed, or that I believe and the company believes that it will succeed regardless. Now let's finally get into the metaverse. So first, I do have to again acknowledge that Nvidia first sort of rose to prominence because of its consistent development and staying ahead in the graphics, processing, technology, and also hardware and software, right? So it doesn't just make graphics cards, but its software has recently become extremely cutting edge and impressive. And many of these things, Nvidia is really on the leading edge, beating out virtually anybody else, in that nobody else is really doing the same things that Nvidia is, or achieving at the same level that Nvidia is at this consistency, right? Because Nvidia has been doing graphics processing for so long, it's even expanded beyond gaming, right? It's been able to use this technology for things that are more practical, like or things like media, filmmaking, more professional uses, as well as, you know, more recently data centers, right? But anyhow, getting to the metaverse, because Nvidia has this crazy technology and the leading technology in graphics processing design, and you know, obviously the metaverse, and they call it the Omniverse, their own metaverse, is basically a virtual world, right? Because people go inside this virtual world or operate an avatar, which is a character, to enter this virtual world or various virtual worlds. And obviously you need the, you know, good graphics to be able to immerse oneself in the virtual world and even, you know, do things within one and be able to simulate real life actions or even fantasy actions and be able to turn the knobs on a lot of these different things, right? Nvidia does all these things extremely well, right? It's already gotten the technology, it's already been developing and honing this technology, which sets it up extremely well for the metaverse. And another cool thing that Nvidia has going for it compared to pretty much any of the other players within the metaverse, arguably, you know, you can see that Facebook has like the Oculus, they have their own hardware and things like that, right? Google could have something like Google Glass or whatever, but Nvidia, in terms of the developing an immersive and complicated and sophisticated metaverse, not only is their software leading edge, but their hardware is incredible as well. Even Mark Zuckerberg himself acknowledged Nvidia as sort of a platform or the hardware basis where a lot of metaverse players will be involving themselves with. And in fact, Nvidia has already gotten their foot in the door into the metaverse with their current version of the Omniverse software, which actually offers very realistic and sophisticated and varied simulations of real life experiments, situations, and just a lot of practical applications and even prototyping of different products, right? And even supply chains and things like that. It's really advanced in terms of the graphical prowess that it has, right? There is a free version and an individual version that you can actually go onto their website and download to perhaps use for, you know, smaller scale projects and things like that. And you can even perhaps become a developer and sell your services and whatnot, become a freelancer. But anyhow, I digress. With the enterprise version of the Omniverse, they have already been able to monetize it, and they have it as a subscription model, which, if you follow other subscription model based software as a service companies like Adobe, the subscription model is typically a very profitable one, especially if people keep on maintaining the subscriptions, right? If they have loyal customers and returning customers and things like that. They have a base price of $9,000 per year per subscription, which includes, you know, a couple of creators, several reviewers within the projects and things like that. That's the most basic version. And Nvidia actually believes that there are 40 million addressable creators globally. So if you think 40 million times 9,000, that actually implies a total addressable market based on that calculation of $180 billion for just this Omniverse enterprise subscription offering. And putting this into context, if we consider Nvidia's 12-month trailing revenue at $24.3 billion, this actually is a huge opportunity, right? It's many times more than Nvidia's current revenue. And even if they only achieve a fraction of the subscription numbers that they are predicting, there could still be a lot of potential in this, right? And again, this is especially since Nvidia's current stock price and, you know, even forward-looking metrics like price to sales ratios have already been pricing in, or just been pricing in, a lot of its current involvement or its current businesses, right? Most notably its gaming as well as its data center businesses, and doesn't really factor in any of the metaverse, omniverse stuff, right? So I believe that there is yet a lot of potential to not only justify the more expensive valuation that the company has, but just because of the sheer growth it has, the stock is going to grow a lot more. And things are actually already looking pretty optimistic for Nvidia's Omniverse because according to their most recent earnings call, and we'll actually see when they actually update us with their Q4 earnings call, but anyhow, with their Q3 earnings call from a couple of months ago, they stated that already over 700 companies are evaluating their Omniverse platform, including very notable and prominent ones like BMW, Ericsson, Lockheed Martin even, and Sony Pictures. So you can see that there are sort of a variety of different types of applications, or at least those are being considered, right? And I want to conclude this video with something that the CEO Jensen Huang said about other ways that they're looking to monetize the Nvidia Omniverse with these so-called agents, which according to him are basically virtual reality AI robots that are within their Omniverse that are designed to interact as AI, right, with whatever virtual things that they're programmed to do, or within the context of the virtual world that they're in, right, or the experiment that they're in. And each of these agents are looking to charge $1,000 per year as a subscription fee. And another thing that Jensen Huang said, which is I think is really cool and I totally agree, is that long term people are very excited for especially Nvidia because of their dominance in 3D technology and the fact that mainly that 3D will be a lot more important than it is right now, right? Currently, the applications for it are more limited, even though there are already, lots of things that are used, for 3D, like gaming, entertainment, simulations, and so on and so forth. But if and when we enter into the metaverse stage and things like Web3 technology, the internet, the internet itself, which largely is 2D right now, is going to become a 3D world-like thing, right? According to Jensen Huang, in that everything is going to be graphical, right? The internet's just going to be one giant virtual world, right? So instead of querying information, and this is quoting Jensen Huang, we would actually query and interact with people and virtual avatars and things and places, and all of them are in 3D in this virtual world, right? Which is, again, Nvidia's area of dominance. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick analysis of Nvidia. If you did, be sure to leave a comment below, because then I'll be making more of these videos just like this, right? Because that hasn't really been a trend on my channel just yet, but I'm really looking to make that happen because investing is something that I'm extremely passionate about and am also actively involved in. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.